So, pop quiz you didn't know you were going to have. Question 1. How easy is it for you to be patient? You can just answer that in your own heart. I see some folks giving me your answers. Okay, maybe this one will be a little easier for you. How easy is it for you to be still? Yeah, okay. It once was said, no thoughts, no action, no movement, total stillness. Only thus can one manifest one's true nature and become, at last, one with the earth. So, at first, I just laughed at him. Tucker, I mean. Tucker was my 10-and-a-half-year-old, good-natured, golden-colored mix of a mutt from the rescue shelter. Earlier that summer, isn't he cute? I gotta say, best face. Earlier that summer, 10 years ago, when he was still alive, Tucker, who was usually a dog that was in perpetual motion, decided to practice patience and stand still, or decided to sit still, if we want to be more accurate. There was a big bird feeder in my backyard, right next to a miniature Japanese maple. And in that early June in 2011, I noticed that the typically hyperkinetic Tucker had stopped sniffing about the yard and had planted himself silent and still under the maple tree. So my curiosity was piqued. "What are you up to?" I asked Tucker. He ignored me and continued about his new business, sitting still, being patient, and waiting. 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 Waiting, I realized, for the chipmunks. See, that summer was the year of the overabundant chipmunk. Chipmunks were everywhere. I had chipmunk holes in my front yard, my backyard, in the flower beds, the rock gardens. It was chipmunk central out there. And when the dogs were safely in the house, the spilled out sunflower seeds below the bird feeder had turned our backyard into a popular fast food hangout for these fleet-footed little varmints. So, for the first week or so, Tucker continued to sit still and wait. And I laughed at him again and again. "Tucker, the chipmunks can see you sitting there. They're not going to come near you. You're not going to be catching yourself a chipmunk anytime soon." Then I found a chipmunk, a dead chipmunk, on the far side of the backyard. Then another, and another. By late August, I had collected no less than 16 chipmunk corpses from the backyard, all with 2 canine teeth puncture wounds. Tucker and his stillness had paid off. As the saying goes, good things come to those who wait. Now, make no mistake, I am not a fan of hunting. I'm not a fan of mass slaughter or the death of little innocent animals. I like chipmunks. They're cute. I'm sorry those little critters were sent to the great beyond by the chomping jaws of my doggy Rambo. But putting the body count aside for a moment, Tucker teaches an important spiritual lesson. There is something to be gained in stillness. As the ancient psalm from the Jewish and Christian tradition says, "Be still and know that I am God." Or for the less biblically inclined among us, "Be still and know that we are one." Or, "Be still," he says as he's walking, the irony there, "be still and know that the earth, the universe, and we are one. Unitarian Universalist author Karen Herring, in a short essay entitled Creative Slowdown, writes, "Sitting still can be difficult. It's so easy to fill life to the edges, up to the brim, to the darkest corners of early morning and late night too, until there are no remainders, running from one commitment to another, adding tasks between appointments, returning calls between tasks, wedging things too big into times too small." I love that line, so I'm going to say it again, and I can love it because it was Karen Herring who wrote it, not me. Wedging things too big into times too small. A half hour there, 10 minutes there, or a second right now. Borrowing time from one need to address another. Now, if you can relate to what she's talking about, just press the letter Y into the comment box on our virtual campus. But as Anne LeClaire, a reporter, reminds us, if you can sit still, so much will come to you. A decade ago, I had the honor of spending the afternoon with a respected Japanese gardener. This elderly gentleman was known for the sensitivity he brought to his work designing Japanese rock gardens. I asked him, "How do you create such beauty?" There was a long pause. Finally, in an ancient whispery voice, he shared the secret to how he created his art. He said, "When I was a young boy, I served as an apprentice to a great master gardener in Tokyo. For that entire first year, he rarely spoke to me. I simply watched him. After that first year ended, he let me choose a large rock to place in the garden we were constructing, but I had no idea where it should go. He had me sit down next to the rock, just sit. For hours, I sat there, so very still. I did not move. I listened. In time, in that waiting stillness, the rock spoke to me. Not with words, but with wisdom beyond words. That rock told me where it wanted to be placed in the garden. And I put it there, and it was perfect. If we can sit still, so much comes to us. How often do we give ourselves the gift of stillness, the luxury of waiting, or the time to simply listen? Poet Mary Oliver writes, "I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, 'Stay a while.' The light flows from their branches, and they call again. 'It's simple,' they say, 'and you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine.'" To go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. That makes me think of an old Simon and Garfunkel. Let's try that again. That makes me think of an old Simon and Garfunkel song called the 59th Street Bridge Song, also known as Feeling Groovy. And for those of us who are on the younger side, it is worth a YouTube search. With my deepest apologies to Simon and Garfunkel. It goes like this, and if you know it, feel free to join me. As you know, I always sing in the key of flat. Slow down, you move too fast. You gotta make the morning last. Just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. Life, I love you, all is groovy. My dear ones, all has not been groovy these last 16 months. For so many of us, these last 16 months have been grueling on so many levels: physical, emotional, and spiritual. I feel like most of us can be divided into two different groups of people who experienced the COVID lockdown and stillness in two very different ways. Some of us experienced the COVID lockdown as a time of slowing down, of quiet, of spaciousness, of balance. Everything for this group moved at a gentler, more friendly pace. What was superfluous fell away. And we had a profound experience of simplicity and stillness. Now, if you can relate to that experience, just type M for me into the chat box. For those of us who had this experience, our current reopening time has found many of us, upon reentry, starting to fall into the old pattern and movement of moving fast again, overscheduling, being pulled in every direction, and we anticipate even more and more of this in the days that lie ahead. Perhaps we're losing, or we've already lost, the experience of 16 months of slowdown, spaciousness, and stillness. Then there's the other group who experienced the pandemic in a very different way. Some of us have never worked as hard or moved as fast as we have during the last 16 months, with so many work demands making pivot after pivot in every part of our life, while perhaps simultaneously trying to be a parent, a teacher, an entertainer, a caregiver, a cook, all the while trying to keep our family and loved ones alive during a pandemic and a time of racial reckoning and political division. And now, with everything reopening, with this variant running amok, we anticipate even more of the same. We're already out of gas, but the Indianapolis 500 is about to begin. So it's full speed ahead, but on hyperdrive. If you can relate to that one, type Y for yes into the chat box. We need to remember the words of Mary Oliver: walk slowly and bow often, to go easy, to be filled with light and to shine. To go easy, to be filled with light and to shine. Our Unitarian Universalist faith is an optimistic faith, a hope-filled faith. At its core, our faith, we believe the universe is beneficent, is good, that it's waiting to offer us a moment of benediction, of blessing, and of grace. Some faiths, some other religions see devils and demons at every turn in the road. They teach that curses and punishment and scarcity are part and parcel of our human life, and that the universe is out to get us. We see things a bit differently as Unitarian Universalists. We do not deny that life is hard, unpredictable, and often cruel and unfair. But we also try to focus our attention on what is good and kind and beautiful in life. We look for the blessing rather than drowning in the despair. I know it is hard to sometimes see. But even in the longest of nights, there are moments of beauty. We need to still our racing minds, our hurried and harried hearts, to see the goodness that God, that life, the universe presents before us. The nurse in the intensive care unit who brings us a cold drink and a warm smile. The soft colors of a late summer morning after a hard, sleepless night. A sweet cup of tea with a friend in the midst of their chemotherapy treatments. A reassuring hug from our spouse when we are struggling with depression. The brilliant sunset after a long day of deadlines. The sight of our child's smile as we pull into the driveway. The loving cry of grandma or grandpa as we see our grandchild on Zoom. The Reverend Kirsten Harper reminds us, each day provides an opportunity to love again, to embrace joy. Each day provides us with the opportunity to live. These natural moments of blessing, these moments of ordinary yet amazing grace are all around us always, if we but become aware. Tucker, the great backyard chipmunk hunter, reminds us of this human task, this necessary spiritual practice, to stop, to grow still, and know that side by side with brokenness and struggle, there is an endless source of bounty in this universe. It doesn't change the struggle. It doesn't take away the struggle. But it does enhance the life. It does enhance our life. It does save our life. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen and amen.